What's
It's
up?
dark. It's dark in here.
How's it going?
Not too bad. How you been?
I'm pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just coming along. Yeah. All right.
Huh?
So with this one, like, yeah, I don't think we'll use the I know great people thing. We'll just have a conversation, right? We're just talking about the website.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, you can share your screen. Or we intro a bit like, yeah. So Christopher is back. You definitely check out the conversation I've had with Christopher. He can tell you a bit about himself. And we're having a conversation now. This is, I guess, kind of as part of the I Know Great People series. Christopher was nice enough to come on and tell us about AI and software engineering, and he's going to be joining us for a couple of other conversations. Some going to be AI related, like the one today, but just in general, part of I Know Great People is for the people that I meet and know to meet other people that I meet and know, and then have conversations and share it with y'all. So Christopher was working with AI and software engineering, and he has some stuff to talk to us about today. So Christopher, just tell us a bit about you, and then anything that's changed. Like, yeah, some things have changed since we last talked, and what we're going to be discussing today.
Okay. So I've been a software engineer for a little over 10 years, 15 years. And it's never been as easy as it is now. I began using AI probably back in 2024.
Hmm.
I was using Microsoft Copilot. I started out with the web browser extension, and then I started using the Windows app. And now I'm using GitHub Copilot inside Visual Studio, IntelliJ, and Visual Studio Code. And wow, is it a game changer? I can crank out probably 300 to 400 code files a day using AI. All I have to do is say what I want it to do, and it does it for me. The cool thing about having GitHub Copilot installed inside of your IDE is it maintains a context. So it's almost like a memory of sorts. So it understands your code base. It only has to scour it a few times. It'll remember a file or remember where code is in that file. So if it's a long file and it wants to find out where you put like your button, it'll say, okay, well, I'm going to look at code lines 100 to 150 and find those buttons, you know.
Hmm.
So I started this project that I'm going to show you using Microsoft Copilot, and basically I was like, I want this page, I want a splash screen, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it would spit out code, and I had to copy it and then paste it over in my IDE, and it might look like trash. I'm like, no, you got to do it over, you know. But GitHub Copilot is designed specifically for coding. Microsoft Copilot is not. It's more for like Word documents and PowerPoint and stuff like that. So yeah, I had to learn this for my work. So they pressure you into using AI because I mean the amount of efficiency that you gain using it is off the charts. So
What
that
was your, for comparison, what was your code stack generation in a day before you were using AI? Said it's 400 now, and like, what was it before?
maybe one or two files.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I, I'm doing a series called Made America 250 where I go into like, I start on July 4th and I'm going every decade about like things that made America, people, places, and projects. And the one I did last week was um, Eli Whitney inventing the cotton gin, and like how like the cotton gin was stolen from him, and then he also invented replaceable parts or something, interchangeable parts to develop stuff. So he moved to the North, and then the North had interchangeable parts and that technology. So the cotton gin was used in the South to increase slavery, like the usage of it. So he kind of had these technologies that he created, and then people did different things with those technologies. These things happened even after he did it. He was just like interested in making a cotton gin because he was in Georgia at someone's house, and she told him, "Oh, these people are struggling with doing the cotton." They said like it took a slave like 10 hours to separate like 3 pounds or something of cotton from like three like the actual cotton they can use from the one with the seeds and whatnot, and
Right.
in 10 hours. And then he invented the cotton gin, and then just shortly after it was invented, a few tweaks to it, it went to 300 to 10 to 1000. So it was like a 300x
Yeah,
improvement. But regardless, he created something, and then people did things with his invention. It wasn't like he was doing that in order to do XYZ. And just you mentioned that with AI, it made me kind of think of that, where it's like you were at one, and then now it's like 400 times better with
yeah,
improvement. And there's other people doing nefarious things or wasteful things with
yeah,
AI. Just like some
yeah,
people took the cotton gin and they carried on the negative practice of slavery. But at the same point, the cotton gin is still being used now and it has done a lot of good. And interchangeable parts was done for war, and it was also done for cars and other. Anyway, so it just the whole thing of inventing. So what do you think has got you to that mentality of saying it's efficient? Because I've seen some studies that say there's a lack of efficiency. We know there's certain fields where people are like, this is ruining our field. So
yeah.
from your personal experience, when you talk to other software engineers, are you the average thinking it's more efficient? Are people complaining, or like what's your take on it from
Well,
working with it?
I can tell this. Like at work, I'm one of like over 50 contractors just with one company coming in,
Mhm.
and I am by far the leader of using AI. Like
Okay.
they want you to mark down how many minutes per day you're using AI, and I'm like 480 minutes, 360 minutes, 120 minutes. And these guys are like 45 minutes, 60 minutes, And I'm like, and the sad thing is, and I probably shouldn't say this on something that's going to be broadcast, but they're going to lose their job because they're not doing what the company wants them to do. They want them to be as efficient as possible. They're paying for this AI to be in the workplace. They expect you to use it almost
Mhm.
demanding. So if you're not pumping out the code, they're not going to keep you around if there's people willing to do the way they want it done. You know what I mean? So
Is there some
there's probably
reticence?
people.
Do they think maybe the code will take over their job somehow? Like if they teach
Ah,
it what it's doing?
that's possible. I'm thinking, a lot of these people say, I've been coding for a long time. I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Just let me crank, at my own pace. You know what I mean? I was like that when I first started using AI. Like, well, I don't really want to do this. I want to learn more and more of what I'm coding and how to do the different things. And now I'm like, it's pointless. No one even cares how much coding experience you have probably anymore. You know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah.
do you know how to use AI? Do you know how to use Claude efficiently? That's going to be the question of your interview now. It's like, okay. But as far as replacing people, I actually heard something where they're trying to dial back AI in the workplace so it can't take away jobs. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where I can do all the work that they have hundreds of people doing, and it's all it is like just understanding. You have to understand the architecture. You have to understand the code base, the everything. You have to understand every working piece in order to do this. But once you know all that stuff, you can lay it all out by yourself.
Okay.
My project is designing its own UI. I mean, the user interface is all its own generation, and I've made it to where it's consistent. So one page looks exactly like another page. It's not like, okay, well, this one's like green and this one's blue and that one's yellow.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I want to go back to handwriting code. It's like, I type in a little paragraph and boom, I got a whole module built. So basically, what I've learned how to make your experience more efficient is by making like helper documents. So like little markdown files describing step by step how you want something executed. So I have microservices, and each microservice is a module. So modules like HR, CRM, sales, inventory. So each microservice is that, and I have a over 2,000 line document that says how to go from start to finish to create an entire module. And all I have to do is type into AI, hey, create a new module, inventory. And it'll sit there and just crank through that document and build out an entire module.
So this is like an interface issue now. I mean, I think I brought this over last time, the augmented interface aspect of it. But
Yeah.
we know coding is a language like C, C++, or
Hmm.
in the JavaScript, if you can call scripted scripting, there's a
Yeah.
language that's involved in there where
Hmm.
depending on what you're dealing with, you're gonna have to understand certain things. And just like there's Latin-based languages, you're gonna have Latin and you're gonna have French,
Hmm.
English. I mean, if not English is not French, Spanish, and Italian, which there's some cross purposes because it has same code, but same base. So that's the same thing, I guess, with code, right? So when it
Yeah.
comes to talking to AIs, how much is that like you talk to it like you would talk to HTML5 in that kind of sense, where you like doing a computer program, or is there a more like, for lack thereof a word of anthropomorphizing it, is it more like a human way of talking to it, or at the base of it, do you still find better success with it when you just go, this is tech, this is a robot, I need to do it kind of like I'm coding when you're prompting it, because that prompting now is again like saying you're developing now a different language. But
Yeah.
first of all, do you have to be more anthropomorphic with it? And second, how different is the language depending on which Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini, like what's the differences that you started noticing?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you can be as basic as me asking you to draw me a dragon from my website. Hey, I want a dragon. I want it to be gold. Make it look cool. You don't have to know HTML. You don't have to know any of that lingo going into this. I mean, with the way I did it, it's like, hey, I want to keep up with the cool kids. Give me some suggestions, and I actually followed a suggestion, so it's telling
Yeah.
me how to do it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I had an idea of what I wanted. I know I wanted to use C Sharp. I knew I wanted to do a part of the project in Blazor, part of it in Razor, MVC. Um, and I just let it loose. I was like, I want to host it on AWS. I want to do it this way, and tell me how to do it. Step by step, told me how to go onto AWS, create instances, put my code into CI/CD pipelines using GitHub Actions. I didn't know all this stuff, dude. And, it's tell me, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. Tell me option A, option B. And, it's really interesting because if you'd have told me this is what was going to be happening 5 years ago, I'd be like, "You're full of shit." You know, you're full of it, man. I knew that it was going to take off, but I didn't expect it to get this far this fast.
Yeah.
Literally, like a non-programmer can say, "Hey, I want to build a website," you know,
Yeah.
and
I
all
mean,
you just
we were
talk
kind
stuff
of there
like
a
this.
bit with like things like Squarespace, where there was templates where you could pretty much do it. But this is different. This is like, I guess they had different functionalities, but you still have to understand what widgets you needed to put in and whatnot if you're using Squarespace. So now with this one, you're saying you just give it the idea of what you wanted to do, then it goes out and pulls those widgets out and codes it in your particular way. So yeah, that's a
Yeah,
different level of it. Wow.
yeah. Well, I had it generating icons for me. Hey, I want icons in my menus, and I want all this stuff. And you can go and you can get like Font Awesome and all these other things just sitting there handwriting SVGs, man. That's
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
I bet.
I,
Yeah.
I built an application at work. Basically, what it does is it takes your compiled code as a file and it loads it in. Then it'll tell you what public properties and methods it has, let you fill out all your variables and stuff to pass into the functions inside that file, and it'll sit there and run that file for you so you can test it without having to be in Visual Studio and playing around. Um, and I had it design me um, like the fab icon for
Hmm.
the file. It's a desktop app. It's not a website, but it's similar as an icon file. And I call it a DLL pressure cooker. So it drew me a little tiny pressure cooker, has steam coming out and everything, and it says DLL plug. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it drew it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, this is something that I think did come up in the last conversation. Again, it's just coming to the copyright of some of these things, but there's so
Mhm.
much open source material out there that it's very possible for these things to run on entirely open source or just
Mhm.
have select things. They're going to tweak it eventually. There's going to be a few court cases will come that will finally go against the AI companies. Then they'll
Mhm.
button up the whole situation of the intellectual property. I think that'll be
Right.
buttoned up. They'll be sorted soon. I think 5 years
And
from
so,
now, that's not going to
so,
be.
so does this, and I think I have it set up this way. AI will actually go out on the web and hunt down people's repos and find source code to use in your project. Chase has turned that completely off. It'll warn you. It'll
Okay,
delete the
that's
entire
good.
chat history and everything. You can't see the code or nothing, and that way they don't get hit with
Yeah, it's
copyright.
liability. Yeah.
But I have mine turned off so it doesn't go out on the web to find code. It just understands what it's doing on its own. So
Yeah, because
I
you can just get like someone like have servers, or you rent server space if you're not like massive
yeah,
multinational company like
yeah,
you can
yeah,
order. I mean, people have game servers where you order space, or you can have an old
yeah,
computer. You can just have running some models on it, and then
yeah,
you just go like you buy a PDF of how to code that's you've paid for, and then now you
mhm,
have just like the same way you could physically go read it yourself.
yeah, yeah,
You just plug that into the database and you have the ownership of it. Yeah, there's gonna be
yeah,
ways to sort those issues out.
yeah. Well, I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, but supposedly you can't copyright anything that you use AI to generate. So if you went on the AI and said, "Hey, I want you to draw me a picture of an apple," you can't
Yeah.
copyright that. You know what I mean? Because AI
How
built it
soon
for
is
you.
it gonna be though where they're gonna get like AI is gonna get human rights like corporations do? I mean, that's another court
Yeah,
case that might get sorted out in
yeah.
that kind of situation.
Did you
But then,
hear
yeah,
this?
but not also the transformative. Like if you use it to do like a comp and then you add how much do you have to add to it to change to now be your own touch to it. But yeah,
Right.
no,
Yeah.
I mean that would be kind of interesting to me though. Like, but I don't know if you've seen the the JD Vance memes and Nostromo with the guy in the big blues.
Yeah.
There's an account I follow on Instagram. He's always dancing around, and they had one where he was like they just had him on the Brock. There's Brock Lesnar clip when he was I guess he had gone back to Minnesota and he was I think he was wrestling with some guy who was in the Minnesota team. He's like, "Come on, go ahead." And then he like throws him over. But it's a JD Vance thing, and it was so slickly done. Like the bottom of the shoes worked, the cloth worked, like nothing ever glitched out. And I remember like the original JD one in the river, and I was just thinking like how cool it is. Like with that meme, the more people create the JD meme,
Mhm.
the more material there is for AI to feed. It's like AI is like feeding itself to create better JD memes because like
Yeah.
in the first JD meme, it had a few images that human beings created. Then by the time a few months passed, new AI video memes was based off of like 500 AI video memes. Now it's
Yeah.
like thousands of, so it's like becoming better and
Mm.
better and better,
Yeah.
like crisper and crisper and crisper. But where does that end up like canceling out, or does it ever? Like, why does it
Yeah.
have to ever cancel out?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so we can get into the website now. You can share a screen. You can tell us a bit about what you built here.
All right. So basically, I'm going to show you the code base real quick before I
Okay.
show you the actual project. Let's see. Screen one.
JD memes.
See if I got
At
the right
least
one.
that's one thing that's always AI is always going to be good for is video memes because no one's going to spend the time to actually make those. But then if you have AI, you can just throw it in.
So over
Okay.
here, can you see my mouse moving?
Yes.
Okay, so over here is your whole chat GBT or chat Copilot chat window. And you can see down here, these are all the files that it's touching and making changes to. Over
Mm.
here on the left, I have my open files, and it's easier to have them over here because AI will spit out if I have them across the top. By the time I'm done, I have this much window space left to see code. Got so many files open.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll go over to the solution and I'll break this out for you real quick. So all these under services, those are my modules. So I have an AI module, CRM, finance, HR, all that stuff. And then I have a front end and I have an admin site and a website for clients. And then the back end is all your business rules and um, classes and stuff like that. So code classes. But yeah, all this is generated by AI. I mean, you're talking hundreds, if not thousands of pages. Um, all I had to do is say, hey, I want to do this. Okay, boom, here's your code. And I'll start this, and you're going to see a whole bunch of black windows pop up, and then you're going to see some, they call it Swagger. It's where it tells you, you have this class, and it's basically an API repository, and this is all the functions you can call from it. So he'll say every single one of these little black windows
Hmm.
is a service. So my HR service is one of these windows. My web service is one window, So
Okay,
now,
and
now
if
it's
you're using it on the website, it'll only call it up once you click. But right now, it's running to
yeah,
build the site.
yeah. So this one, like the localhost can't be found. It's loading the web project into
Uh,
memory, but it's not hitting the endpoint that has actual code. So this, I just said, hey, I want a new splash page. And I said, okay, here you go. This would take me a week by itself to generate this,
yeah.
just to write this out. And I have it making me an Android app. You can actually download the app. You can install it with a QR code. It did that for me. Um, I'm working on the iOS next. I don't have a demo video yet. I'm gonna wait until I have enough
Get
modules.
JD dancing around.
Get JD Vance. Yeah, I would like to have like a little anime character or some kind of
Yeah.
little character that dances around the screen or something. Start free trial. Basically, you sign up for the site. It's not fully functional because this part right here, I want to flesh this out a little bit better because right now it's a monolith set of SQL commands to build out an entire database of every single module that I offer. What I want to do is break it down into the core,
Hmm.
the provisions, and then when you set up your company and you say, well, I want this module, and this module, then it's only going to install the databases and tables for the ones you selected instead of just creating all of them. So I'm not done with this yet. And then admin is the username to test my stuff. Password's the password. Don't tell anyone. I don't want my site hacked. Go ahead and sign in. This is the main dashboard. It gives you a little
Oh.
bit of information. I try to keep these insights on most of the pages. Just eye candy for the most part, but they're useful information tidbits. Recent activity will be nice. User X created user Y for a sale, like a sale or something. I have a time clock functionality. Um, and like I said, when AI is creating all this stuff for me, it'll count down, then I can clock out, and I have it writing to an event bus. So when I clock out for the day, it's going to go into HR timekeeping and create a record.
Hmm.
So here I am. I clocked in for the day, clocked out. I didn't work any hours, but I fulfilled my task. And then finance has payroll. I think you're hiding it. There it is. Payroll, pay runs. And then it says no runs yet. I don't know if there's a button behind your yeah. Run payroll. And then I just paid my guy.
Wow.
It's all it's called an event bus. So
So this was
you
completely scrapped. There was nothing, no template, no nothing. Just
nothing.
wow. All
Nothing. I
right.
want I want reports. I want like everyone wants reports. Everyone loves reports, man. So I have it generating reports for me. I haven't had it generate the export and settings yet for it, but imagine being able to export this as like a PDF or a
Okay, what's
um,
this? What's base?
Excel spreadsheet.
What's the what data is it pulling from to make these?
So right now I have it using dummy data,
Okay, so you
mock
can
data.
just say like create a fictional company and generate data
Yeah,
from it. And okay.
yeah. So it's got a few records for everything that I'm building right now, and but it's also it's operating as if it were live. So it's using an in-memory database because I don't have the real working database built yet. But it's calling API calls. It's fetching real numbers. It's doing real math. It's not all fudged.
But that's like a key part of what AI can do. Just a proof of concepts of things, get them all the way to the point. Like I just watched. I watched Splattercat Gaming, this gaming channel where he does
Mhm.
like pretty much every day he does like 30 minutes of mostly indie games. And he was talking about a game recently that was in pre-alpha. But what they did was they used AI to create certain assets to test out the assets. They get someone to do the concept art, then they get some AI to test it out and create it enough to actually have a fully playable game, you know, so they'll have like voice acting that's done with that. So they're doing this, it's out there, it's getting crowdfunded, and then once the funding comes in, then they'll hire actual artists. They'll give the artist time to fully rig it. They'll hire voice actors, little things like that. But in the past, it might be impossible for them to earn the money or have the time and decent enough time to create a game that's a proof of concept that's viable enough to get people interested and fund the game, you know?
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think these kind of things, like with a site like this, now you can fully test it out. And before, you know, like the placeholder text, the lorem ipsum stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Love
kind of what you had to do. Like, but it's a
Yeah.
lot more detailed placeholder data of a company.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to sell this to someone, even if you're not using an AI to create the site, but you can use AI to be like, this is the website I've coded myself and I'm trying to sell to you. And here it
Yeah.
is running on a company that's like the company you're going to work on. And
Right.
that might increase the sales because now the person buying it can actually envision themselves using that site in a different way. And that's a positive thing,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So if I were to tell you 5 years ago that it only took me 6 weeks to build all of this, you'd say, yeah, I don't think so, Tim. But yeah, it's only been about 6 weeks in the making, I think.
Yeah. What
Um,
inspired you to even
and
do this? So you just like, I'm going to try it. I want to see if I can do this.
well, it started out like I've been out of work for 4 years. I had a schizophrenic episode that pretty much lasted 4 years. I was on Social Security disability,
Hmm.
and the moment I started, you know, behaving like a normal person again, I was like, you know what? I might not be able to work ever again, but I don't want to stop learning and stop coding and stuff. So I just started taking my Udemy courses like crazy.
Wow.
I'm like, well, maybe I will try to get back in the workforce. And what I need to do is I need to prove that I can do what I used to be able to do 4 years ago. Because for a programmer, 4 years is death. You
Hmm.
know, you haven't done anything in 4 years, you can't do anything at all. So I built a portfolio website. I built the nuts and bolts of this, and then I built another project called Next Rip, where you can write guitar tabs and stuff. But
Cool.
this caught someone's eye. This caught eye.
Oh,
This is
wow.
what got me in there. So now I'm like, well, I don't really need my demo project anymore. I got a job, So what if I just, said, heck with it. I'm just going to go ahead and make this from start to finish. I'm going to complete it and see what I can do with it. So I talked to an old boss of mine. He's the first job that I had as a programmer. And I still talk to him. He's on my Facebook and everything. I just visited him Saturday, and he's like, "Hey, I might have someone that would be interested in using your software. So I might already have a client for my software, and it's not even built yet. It's not
Nice.
finished." So I mean, it's definitely a nice tool. I mean, every business uses something like this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there's not many of them out there. There's probably like a dozen, probably a dozen different software packages out there. Some companies build their own. They want it like fine-tuned for just their business. This is going to handle everybody's business. I'm going to have, mining and resources. Like, we just do coal, man. I don't know. We're going to use your
Yeah.
software.
I don't
Well,
need all this. I don't need that.
yeah,
And so you can
yeah,
pare it down or add what might be specific to that company. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But you maintain equipment. You
Hmm.
have to do all this stuff. Um, so I mean, my idea was like, okay, well, my first job, I was building an ERP. This is an ERP system, so enterprise resource planning.
Yeah.
Um, I was working on that kind of stuff with that company. Then later on, I got on Murray Energy, their coal company, and another CRM or ERP, and it's like, wow, I really know enough about this that I can make my own from scratch. And that was the brainchild behind this.
I just met somebody today, Kamunya Edward. Once I have him on I Integrate People, I think you might enjoy talking to him because he created some app. He was working on some app with the government here about a system to organize and streamline policing. And
Mhm.
the previous administration was going forward with him, but it fell through from various reasons. I just met him. We just talked for like maybe 15 minutes. So he'll give me some more details. And then now he's doing something to deal with issues that people have. There's a whole lot of we don't have the student loans yet like you have in the United States of America. Here it's just like there's a whole bunch of schools that they give out like false certifications. Like you can pay them, they'll give you a false certification, and then there's just problems of people being hired with under those false certifications. So he's working through a system to kind of confirm and just have some trustworthiness in like, okay, this person actually went to the school, this person actually studied. So, but he's been using AI for both of these things, and he's working with a few people. And yeah, this is kind of what I want to do with this platform is like just like get people to because what you're doing here might be similar to what he's doing, and y'all might be even actually do stuff together. You can unlock just like stuff because I know like in the developed world, there's people stuck in their ways in certain things, and they don't want to adjust to different things. But in the developing countries, like people are like, okay, like AI is already just being completely embraced. Like I think we told you, like in the creative field, they're like, we don't care. Like we'll do it. We don't have like the unions of artists and people who are really hired who are like complaining that you have to hire us, you have to hire creatives. It's like no, they're just like if it's working, it's working. And that's what you're saying with this website. At the end of the day, doesn't matter what school you went to, how you're coding it, if it takes you 20 hours versus 2 hours. Like at the end of the day, does the website work?
Yeah.
You know, this is like a very functional thing. Does this thing work? And I think when it comes to AI, I think coding and things like that might be something it's very and specific certain AIs, like you mentioned, like certain AIs are not made for this. Like ChatGPT is probably not that good at something like this, right?
I haven't used ChatGPT much.
Yeah.
It was part of Copilot, I believe, at one point. But Claude is like the new guy on the show, on a
Yeah.
town, so everyone's using Claude. Uh, Copilot has like a limited version of Claude right now, but it's improving. If you really want to get heavy lifting out of Claude, you want to get the standalone Claude.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like I don't know how long ago it was, but someone had a video, and you only have like 200,000 tokens with Claude inside of Copilot, but Claude standalone, you have 1 million tokens. So if you think about tokens, it's basically a word. You know how like
Mhm.
in typing class, a word was 5 letters. They considered every 5 letters a word. So it's we can you can do 40 words a minute. So you're breaking it down into chunks of five. So tokens is the same concept. So um, tokens is going to be your context. So everything you do inside of Visual Studio with the
Yeah.
Copilot, it builds a context. It remembers what you typed in last. It remembers the functions and procedures it's done in the past. And as that builds up, you're expending more cost.
Yeah.
So instead, like if every time I asked AI something and didn't know anything at all what we just did, I would be using less tokens than I would if it's storing memory.
Okay.
So that's one of the downfalls, I think, if I'm calculating it right. Um, I'd imagine, over time you're just paying way too much for it.
So
Right
yeah, it
now I'm
depends on
paying,
what you're doing. If sometimes if you want a friend, you want it to
yeah,
remember what you talked about before. But if you
mm,
just want it to solve like make this the widget, it shouldn't
yeah,
remember all that stuff.
yeah.
Okay.
I pay $100 a month for Copilot Max.
Hmm.
That's the highest you can go. That's 20,000 credits a month. Plus, I have $250 spending limit, which is the max of that, if I go over. And I'm spending that. And I still have 2 weeks left in the month. It's a monthly subscription. And I still have 2 weeks left in the month where I can't do anything because I ran out of credits.
Okay.
But I've learned to optimize it. So I'm on day 5. And I'm on day 5 right now. And I still have 20% of my subscription credits left. Where last month I was bone dry in 6 days. So I've learned to be a little more efficient with it. I know what happens when your context gets too full. You usually want to dump it at 75% or it'll start hallucinating. We talked about that in our last video,
Yeah.
hallucinating. So yeah, there's tips and tricks that everyone should know um, if you want to utilize this properly. And I'm just now learning. So, but I think I've got enough out of it that I can say I know how to use AI.
Cool. Here's a break in the conversation. Thank you, Chris, for coming. I might seem a bit low energy on this one because we had a time difference. So I think I was recording this past midnight. I was a bit tired with my old middle aged self, but still good conversation. Christopher will be coming on for more conversations about this topic, and we will be having this as part of I Know Great People. Once you're part of I Know Great People, you can suggest any other topic, or I'll just tell you things I'm doing on my channel and my other things. Like I'm including this on the art, AI, and creativity thing that I'm doing, which is a subsection of what is art, as I'm trying to define art itself. And I think it has something to do with the question, what? And then answering that question, that goes to something that art does. But art, AI, and creativity is now a subsection in that. A lot of people say you cannot create art with AI. AI cannot create art. If you prompted AI to do something, what was created, what was resulted, what was generated was not art. And I kind of have some agreement with some of that. I think there's a difference with art and artifacts. And I think right now AI can do that. And then there's some people, especially in the creative field, that will say, if something was created with AI, I'm not dealing with it. You hire people who use AI, I'm not dealing with it. You created this movie with some AI, I'm not watching it. You created some of the assets in this game with AI, I'm not playing it. They avoid that. They avoid AI in that kind of sense when it comes to art. But those same sorts of people, let's say they're doing it not because it's in part maybe it's taking jobs, but let's say they have a more moral issue with it, or they say the thing that's created is not actually genuinely the thing and they'd rather have a human doing that. If they were, for example, found out that their bank or they were hired by a company whose website was created like Chris did right here with AI, would they say, I'm not working with you to design this ad campaign, this mascot, this animation, this movie for you on your site because you have, instead of hiring human software engineers, you hired somebody like Christopher to prompt it? Would they object to that? I kind of don't think they won't. I mean, maybe some people will take it that far on a moral and ethical standpoint with it and get to that point. I don't know. But then also when it comes to art, another thing I saw on the side was there was something recently that mentioned that some scientists had used AI to generate some 16 different viruses that would target bacteria and supposedly destroy that alone. But it was said scientists create viruses in the article that I saw. I think it was on Wired magazine or someone, but they wrote it that way. Whereas if they were talking about there was 16 new animations explaining what bacteria is to people that was generated with AI, I don't know if they would say artists created animations about bacteria. But when it comes to certain fields, people are already comfortable with saying a human using AI to do this is still the human creating that thing at the end. But that's still a question when it comes to art. So just to y'all out there, is a website prompted by AI? Did Christopher create this website he's talking about? Or is AI enabled of creating websites? And then if he's able to create, AI is able to create website, Chris created this website through prompts. What if he had asked it to create art inside the website? Would that web design, would that graphic design in the actual website be some form of art? Because when you talk about graphic design, that's art, right? Right. That UXI, the user interface, there's some artistic ability to that, right? What if he goes further and creates a logo with that? Is that the generation of creation? I don't know. But getting back into the conversation. Yeah, with that. Okay, so with general like no adoption. So okay, so now you've been using it more. You're also now back in gainful employment in the industries that would be using this kind of tech.
Mhm.
Since we had the talk, I think it was back in June around there. Have you has what have you changed like mentally on the adoption of AI? Like, and now of course working for a big company, even when the subsidization of it ends, they'll still be able to afford to use it for whatever they're using it for. So what do you think is going to happen like with in what industries have you changed your mind on which industries are going to be affected the most, adopted the most, and how will it work for regular citizens after the subsidization of AI ends?
As far as companies, I think the bigger companies will adopt it a lot quicker than smaller companies. Um, it's simply just too expensive. You know, if
Mhm.
I'm maxing out $350 a month on mine,
And get it
I
done in
can
a
only
week.
imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine what a small company would do with like, five or 10 developers.
Yeah.
They might reduce to two developers and say, "Have at it, guys. Here's your AI." Um, so I think it's going to affect the smaller guys more because they can't adopt it as quickly as like a large
Okay.
corporation. So they're going to be behind because they simply might not be able to afford it. I'm talking about small mom and pop shops.
Mhm.
Not necessarily like Radio Shack or some other smaller company. Um, but I do
What would they
believe
be using it for anyway, though?
uh, just building like their websites. So
Mhm.
um, a lot of companies don't have a lot of time invested in software development. Some do. Runs shit. They run their whole system off of software. So you're when you're typing in your code for your or
Yeah.
you're doing or whatever, it's all software. So they have a very legitimate reason to have constant development. Some places, all I have is a Facebook uh, page for my business, or a small website.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so the software development time in that and using AI for that, you might only need AI for 1 month. Here's AI for 1 month. Guys, go and make me my site and be done with it.
Yeah, and then
But I
humans
think,
can maintain it. Okay.
yeah, but I do believe that the days of having large teams of developers and designers and stuff, I think that's going to go away. I do believe that it's too cost efficient. I mean, if you're paying me $50 an hour, but you can pay for someone to use AI for $350 a month, you know, you're going to go with AI
Yeah.
over giving someone a job. You know what I mean?
So it might
So
change
I'm
around where like a freelance designer, like you were before, would go approach a company and then quote the price they would need to use AI for the month that they're designing the website as in
Yeah,
part of the proposal, right? That's what
yeah,
you'd
yeah,
say, okay, I need this many credits for this use, and then okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And you
But
can also have a situation where, like, I was thinking even just with the design, how hard it's being hit already. Graphic designers are hit very hard by this. It's getting into animation, it's getting into film, getting into a lot of the creative
mm,
industries, especially the creative industries that have a digital component to it. If you're still doing hand paintings, AI is not coming for you. I know they
yeah,
have robots that can follow what the AI does, but
yeah,
it's still something that's still there. But
yeah,
with that creative things, I was thinking now there's ways to like personalize. Like you were talking about, you'd like some animated character to be a part of your website. Like instead of doing me saying, okay, I'm going to do the full animation, you can still have somebody who will design the character in the traditional older way of not traditional because it's
yeah,
not even traditional. It's like last 20
yeah,
years. So I'll design the character for you, rig it up, and then like give it over to you. And then now I'll tell you, okay, this AI is good for rigging up characters, and then I can maybe just instruct you a bit how to use it. Then you'll be able to like utilize it or tie it into whatever interface or whatever widgets it has there. So that way, now the designer might not be able to sign up for a studio as an in-house character designer, but they'd be able to find maybe 10 or 20 Mappa shops that will need their services, keep them busy most of the month. So they're getting
mm,
less money from more people, but still coming up to the same sort of money they'd be making if they were working at like a studio as a full-time employee. So they
right,
might be a bit more effort to actually do that, but at least when it comes to the creative arts, I think that's how artists mostly were. That whole idea of being an artist and just having your typical salary going to 9 to 5, that hasn't been the life of artists for most
yeah,
of existence. It hasn't been the life of most people for most existence. This whole nine to
Yeah,
five thing is a relatively recent convention in the West, like of all
yeah.
places.
Mhm,
But now with coding, that's like a brand new thing now. Like,
mhm,
why do you necessarily need to code 9 to 5? Like, some people
yeah.
might be like very able to do it from like 5 a.m. to like 8 p.m., then sleep for like 3 hours, wake up again, code some more. Like, so you don't really need some of these there's certain structures that we have in mind of this is how work is done, this is how employment is gotten, this is how my achievement of being a successful person is going to be. But I think we need to start changing those things around and adjusting to the different things
Co-
that exist. Yeah.
COVID brought a very fascinating revelation to me. It's like, hey, I don't really need to be in an office to do what I do for a living.
Hmm.
I got access to the internet. I got access to the server. I can dump my code in there. I don't have to be in an office 9 to 5.
Yeah.
But my modus operandi, on the other hand, says no. You need to be in the office because you'll mess around all day. But yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, my a friend of mine will sit there and he'll do like 10 minutes of prompt engineering and then go mess around all day at home. And like the AI is doing all the work that he needs to do. He's being productive, but he doesn't have to sit there and babysit it anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, you're using AI and it's only doing like, 5 or 10% of what it can do now. So yeah, he's figured out a way to have it do everything he needs to do for the entire day. He sits on a dating app trying to find a woman for the
Yeah,
rest of the
we,
day.
you can just code a woman. You can do like that horror
Yeah.
movie where like yeah. So, but another thing, as you said, the offices there's still importance for that. But now even the people who are doing the offices will now rethink the way they do it. Instead of like one local massive office that they need to make sure everyone they're employing is living in that area or has moved there, and it's like coming in 9 to 5. Like there might be some days where this person is doing zero that day, but we still have to make sure their computer's powered, they have space, the cafeteria is giving the food. So there's certain costs where now it might make more sense to have like five smaller things in different areas, and then the people come there when they need it. You can schedule. You can be like, okay, I'm coming in for doing a project. I'm coming to the city for a project. I'll be there for 2 weeks. That's when I'll be 9 to 5ing, and then the rest of the time I can come once a week or something.
Yeah.
There's going to be different things changing. It's an exciting
Yeah.
time, and I think
Mm,
AI is part of that. If people
mm,
can get over some of the catastrophizing about it, and also if the AI industry can also address some of the real wastage and misuse of the thing. But that's normal in every
yeah.
industry. When it starts a thing, like it's not being efficiently produced. The service
Mm,
is not as efficient as it can be. The product
right.
is not as streamlined as it can be. So we need to give them time to do that, and then yeah, see which industries and which ways to use AI actually cost efficient.
Mm. I think what needs to happen is I think the cost of it has to come down. It's I mean, I can't even imagine how much my company is. I mean, we got hundreds of developers. Everyone's got to use it. You have to use it. So I imagine they're paying a pretty penny because
But
we
that's
don't
because it's
have it.
general, right? That's because it's like super
Yeah,
general. Like imagine if you needed a pickup truck,
yeah,
but in order to get a pickup truck, you had to order the entire Ford catalog, the
yeah,
minivans, the small cars, the saloons, the
yeah,
luxury cars, and just have
hmm,
them sitting in your garage, even though you
yeah,
only want to use the pickup truck. But you can't buy
right,
just a pickup truck. You got to
man,
buy the entire car dealership.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's kind of how AI is right now. You got to
mm,
buy every single functionality AI can do, even
mm,
though you'll use 1% of what it can do. So I
right,
think some of the costs it's subsidized right now. That's why you can have access to the entire model. But
mm,
once they figure out how to have specialized little things, and you'll be like, I'm only paying for a small percentage of its usage in that kind of sense.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I think that could happen soon. How long do you think it would take to do something like that? You've seen AIs, you've worked through different iterations of different models and seen the evolution of some of these things.
Mhm.
How long do you think it would take until there's like really specialized stuff?
I think they're already starting that. I mean, Copilot is two pieces. So they have Microsoft Copilot and they have GitHub Copilot. Microsoft, like I said, is more for your Word documents and stuff like that, and then Copilot, GitHub Copilot is for coding and like generative AI,
Mhm.
basically. So, um, I, I think they're already doing that, and the way they're doing it, it's like, okay, well, you need this really sophisticated AI version of Claude or whatever to do this type of work. And then your
Mhm.
day-to-day stuff, you can use this one. It's going to cost you less. It's going to take a little more time, but you'll get more out of it in the end. And then there's this really small one down here if you want to like produce documentation of your code and stuff like that, you'd use that. So it's kind of specializing in a way, but it's not like, okay, well, this one's for coding, this one's for graphics, this one is for Word documents. It's not segmented up that far yet.
Okay.
I think probably within the next 2 to 3 years, you might see something like that happening. If you go to like Photor, it's like a 2D generator, like graphic editor, and
Mhm.
that's specialized. That's a specialized AI. I can't go there and say, hey, I need a web page, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So they started it. Again, Midjourney was one of the first ones my friend Derek was using. Alright. Okay. Now, completely just ghosted the question. What was the question? Was the AI the way like, nah, nah, it's gone. Oh, no, it's gone. Okay. I don't know. So, anything else you want to add about this? Like, okay, if someone is, again, I think this is good advice for the people again. If someone is looking to add AI to their workflow, especially as software engineering, what are your suggestions of how to go about that?
The first thing that I would suggest is learning how to optimize what you're doing. So making the markdown files in your code or whatever type of documentation file you want to create that the AI can reference and get a whole set of instructions that you don't have to sit there and repeat over and over. Because if you're sitting there repeating yourself over and over, then you're not as productive as you can be, and you're not using the tool effectively enough to say be cost effective too.
Mhm.
So yeah, learn how to optimize your usage. There's plenty of examples out there. Creating your own agents, creating your own tasks, your own everything will
Mhm.
help the AI model do something more streamlined than sitting there just prompt, you know. So yeah, that'd be my first recommendation. The second is, you know, you don't have to go as ballistic as I did with my business as usual application, but use it to, you know, create like a nice, substantial Hello World app with just AI. You know,
Yeah.
have it multiple pages, have it maintain the same layout, look and feel. Um, have full functionality all throughout to where everything's interactive and working. And I think, you know, by the time you're done, if you're taking all the stuff I just told you to do, then you should be ready to go in the field with it. So, yeah, I mean, I was swimming in very deep waters, you know, a month ago, and now I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, you know, I got a boat now. So, yeah, I mean, it was a night and day thing, and I didn't even realize how badly I was misusing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like any other skill. Using AI is a skill. It's not just, you know, everyone can do it. You have to develop a skill with it.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, just take time to Google stuff, or you know, use AI to tell you how to use AI or something. Yeah.
I was thinking a bit about that. I do remember what I was going to ask you was the repeatability, but we'll get to that. But one thing you also mentioned with the optimizing the way you think, that's a positive thing for life in general. I'm trying to do better at optimizing my life, leaving way too much on the table. But
Yeah.
with that, I had experience with teaching arts, right? And like you have certain ways you develop your own pipelines of creating something, but then when you actually need to teach somebody that thing, it makes you think like, why was I doing it this way again? Like, can I
Yeah.
explain why to go from like the Hello World page to this process? and you
Yeah.
realize you might have picked up some bad habits as well, and like you
Right.
weren't doing it as efficiently. But just because if you taught somebody else to do it the way you're doing it, it would take them 5 hours because it's brand new to them. But
Yeah.
because you've been doing it, you learned it somehow, it takes you like 10 minutes. So you've been doing
Yeah.
something that's less optimized. And now, if you do that better way, you might even cut that 10 minutes down to 5 minutes, and that's a better world.
Yeah.
But you won't realize that until you're trying to teach somebody. That means you're breaking down what you're doing.
Right.
And if you're not an efficient creative in that kind of sense, and you teach that to students, they will not be efficient. So that's kind of what you're talking about right there. If you can code in a optimized way,
Mhm.
then you'll also learn how to teach a model what to do for you in an
Mhm.
optimized way. And you're not asking it to do things that it doesn't need to do, like, so that could be something in there. But now with the repeatability question, this is one thing I was saying, like, what are the good models? Because what you're doing is something that you wanted to be able to create the same thing over and over again.
Right. Mhm.
I've started seeing some, like, somebody shared me a movie like Nomon, what's it? No, not Nomon. It's a Pomegranate. I forget what AI did this. Let me see. I'll send you a link to it. It's like a 30-minute long movie, and it was done with what did they say here? Animation. Okay, so someone did the animation in it, color grading, Ravian Fernanza. I'm not seeing where it says it was the AI, but it was used. Some AI was used in it after centuries. Anyway, I'll send it to you. Made with AI, but they managed to keep the faces looking familiar. Like, the characters looked like the same characters in different scenes and different things over and over again. So that's something like was difficult to do. It was almost impossible to do just
Yeah.
a few months ago. No, a few years ago. I mean, AI has improved. But that whole Will Smith eating spaghetti test or something was like the
Yeah.
original type of thing. So with what you're doing, it's more technical. You wanted to be able to repeat things. So which are the good models for doing things, and what's the process of it being able to repeat the same process over and over again? Like, if you prompt it with a certain words today, you come back in a week and prompt it with those same words, the result will be the same. Like, which are the programs that are best at that, and how do you go about
So
that?
so I only have experience using Claude, and like this is one of the optimization things that I mentioned is the creating those files. I have a step-by-step instruction that I used AI to generate, and I'm like, okay, well, the very top of the page has to have this padding. It's going to have breadcrumbs. You know how to make a breadcrumb. Here's a sample piece of code that shows how to do it. And then after that, you're going to give me a table of, records. We're going to use a custom data grid for it. And then after that, you're going to do this, 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 and this, and this. And it's 200, it's like 2,000 pages or words long. And as it's going through iterations of using this script, basically. Um, if it makes a mistake, I'm like, hey, you made a mistake, fix that, and then add that to the document. So every time I use it and something hiccups, I'm modifying that document. And so far, I mean, it's pretty polished, and I'm
Okay.
not having to create workarounds, so I don't have to tell it to go fix anything. So
Okay.
that's the only way you can really do it. It does have a memory in GitHub Copilot. It's called context. So every time it does something, every time you tell it to do something and it produces a result, it remembers that. It might have to go and look at lines of code again, but overall, it kind of it has a memory of sorts. So you can get similar results that way, but you're expending a lot more tokens telling it what to do
Yeah.
in that sense. Whereas you just give it a small command, say, hey, build me a module. It's going to be this module, and that's it. And it knows the steps to produce that module. So you're limiting how many tokens you're using, thereby how much money you're spending to have a task that all you have to do is run this script and create me this module, for an example. So that's the repeatability pattern. It's just having those instructions ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. And
Plus,
how much do you think, what's the costing going to be to run, like, let's say you are a software engineer and you want to be maybe independent and you want to run a independent model on yourself. what's the base kind of hardware and cost you can look at to be running that, if you have any idea? Like you want your own model that knows your stuff and you're not like paying another company for
Oh, I
compute
got you.
and things like that.
I have no idea on
Okay.
that. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if my laptop would be powerful enough to run an entire model.
Yeah.
Um, how much space does a database full of that information take? You know, it's probably humongous.
Yeah.
Um, you
Because
need
it depends.
something
Like now, if
fast.
you have one of those slimmed down ones where it's like doing something specific, maybe you won't need such like a large size one. And I heard from
Yeah.
like China
Okay.
has like some that are more like more crunched down. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
such a young, we talked about this before where the concept itself is not young, but like the actual applications are very young. So
Yeah. Mhm.
it's still time for them to grow. Yeah.
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 I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years. Yeah, if I'm still around to see it.
Yeah, you
But
will be. We'll be here. We'll be
yeah,
talking about it.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot more we can talk about this. As like I said, I'll try to get Kamunya on, and we can see if we can talk about that. And I still have questions on like how to use AI in the creative field. Because like one thing I've been trying to talk to people, like thinking about going forward with the storytelling platform, and also just like trying to teach people more with creativity, working with different creatives, and trying to get people drawing or painting or sculpting, just doing more of these things.
mhm,
And I think this is like it's like a form of art, being able to have some ideas in your mind and you actually have a way to interface with mediums and result in that idea, generate something, artifacts and arts and things like that. And my pitch was like everybody was doing this as kids and we all stopped. And at the same point, like I get dissuaded sometimes to do stuff because I'm looking at amazing creators and I'm like, those people are so much better. I'll never get that good. And then people who don't draw at all might be like, dude, you're way better. Like, I can never get that. I'm like, I get that, but I think it's a
yeah,
language. And just like with the AI, it's a form of language. It's a form of
mhm,
technology. It's a form of interacting with the world, interfacing
mhm,
with things. Learn how to do the basics of it. Because if you're already in that field, I think you're leaving way too much on the table. You might not be able to create a website like Christopher did in 6 months by him being self-taught in that kind of sense. That might never happen to you anytime soon. Like I'll never ever paint like Picasso, but doesn't mean I can't understand the basics of painting and have my own painting style that could communicate in that way. And I think that's the thing with AI as well. Don't just discount it. From my estimation, I'm at the mindset like don't just discount it at all. See if it can be something you can be aware of enough to be conversant in it, and then see whatever comes from it. Maybe you'll be the next savant, or maybe you'll just be able to add something positive. Like cut out 5 minutes from something that took you 30 minutes and you add those 5 minutes up over the week, over a year, and you have like a week of your life saved. Those kind
mhm,
of things are valuable, I think, as well.
mhm,
It's
yeah,
a valuable skill to have.
mhm, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to talk to other people about the experience today?
Um, no, I think that pretty much covers it. I would suggest to everyone. I mean, you can get a Computer Coder. You can get a free version of the GitHub Copilot.
Mm,
You don't have access to all the models. You only have so many credits, but get in there, use your month worth of free ones. And if you like it, you can get like I think Pro's like $10 a month. Pro Plus is 50, and then Max is 100.
mhm.
Um, Maybe step your way into it, see if you like it. Maybe you don't like it. I don't know, but give it a shot. You
Yeah.
know.
And you'll get back on the map like Christopher did.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know if I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but Blender now ships with AI,
okay.
so you
Yeah,
can go in
I mean
and
it's interfaced in so many of these things, and I mean with the creative field, it's just like I was using Adobe programs for some time, and cut back a bit with some funds. Was like, okay, let me try GIMP. I was trying GIMP. I don't know why. I don't think the people who made it have the relation with like the Pulp Fiction GIMP, but just every time I see hear that name like GIMP, I know it's probably like graphic image
uh,
manipulation program or something like that. It's probably
yeah,
something technical, but GIMP is a GIMP
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
But I'm using GIMP, I'm using Krita. I tried
yeah,
Inkspace, to really like it. I've been using DaVinci Resolve. So initially it was just like, man, like this stuff is so much streamlined on Photoshop. It's an optimized program where you can do certain movements and whatnot because of they're good programs. But
yeah,
just learning the interface of these ones, and now I'm knowing a groove with them. But there's still like things now you figure out like, okay, with GIMP, I have to do it in a certain way. I'm not going to be able to do these functionalities that I have there, or it's these different shortcuts, these different things. But you definitely get to see the difference. But regardless, what I'm trying to say is if you're a graphic designer, you've already been using the equivalent of AI, even though it's not called AI. Like a simple thing like just you get a filter, you put a drop shadow, you change the exposure on the layers and things like that, and those adjustments. In the past, you had to actually take a camera and do all these things, or you had to go with the actual brush and put in the shadow and things like that. But the
Right.
very fact that you can already just have a computer just drop shadow and it does it for you, and then you put some figures around and it slides around, that's a form of AI. It's more like a hand tweaked AI, where instead of
Mhm.
just giving it the concept, I want this text with this color with this thing, and then it does it itself. You just have to say, I want this text, so I'll click on drop shadow. I want a drop shadow. You have to click to drop. The AI, all the AI is doing is that you clicking, you doing this, you doing that, without you having to physically move it in that kind of sense. That's how
Right.
some of it has already been doing. So
Yeah.
if it was just not called AI, I think many of the people who have complaints about certain aspects would be like, "Oh, we're using that already." And yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be used by other people, whether you use it or not. So you might as well
Right. Yeah.
know enough about it. And even if you know enough about it, then you'll be able to, and you don't want to use it, you'll be able to figure out what are the niches, what are the things that this cannot do. And then maybe you specialize in that and you sell your stuff as like not AI.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think you're going to be doing yourself a disservice if you don't get familiar with it. And in today's world, I can tell you, like if I didn't get into it, I wouldn't have had my job.
Mhm.
If I didn't do something creative enough to get back on the job market. And I can tell you this, there's plenty of people that are struggling a lot longer than I have trying to get back in. And I even try to help some of these people. It's like, you're looking for a job, but you're not willing to put in the work
Yeah.
and effort to get there. This is what I did. Follow me, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's hard to convince some people, this is what you got to do to survive. And AI is one of those things like it's your new food. It's your
Yeah.
new food. You have to digest it. So, yeah, I mean, whatever interactions you have with it, I mean, even if they're infrequent, just knowing how to use them just in case something comes along where you have to use it, you're
Mhm.
familiar enough with it to get off the couch and do it.
Yeah. It's not the dismissive learn to code thing, but learn to prompt. Learn to prompt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say to the peoples before we sign off?
Happy coding.
Okay. Guys, gals, and everybody else in between, goodbye.